Good afternoon and welcome to the Financial Review Committee meeting of January 28th, 25. Madam Secretary, will you please provide the roll call?
When your name is called, please answer with here or present. Member Killebrew?
Here.
Member Pagano?
Here.
Member Riggs?
Here.
Vice Chair Frost?
Here.
Chair Mitchell? For the record, all members of the Financial Review Committee are present with the exception of Chair Mitchell.
Oh, jeez. And just for clarity, this is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025, not January 28th.
Oh,
How did I
where
even
did that
know
come
you
from
missed
then?
Oh, those are the
Don't read
minutes you're
anything.
looking at.
Oh, yeah,
Those are the minutes of the last meeting.
yeah.
Oh, where's, oh, okay, there's not comments on here, okay. Do we have any public comments?
We have no public comments at this time.
Alrighty, new business. Do we have approval of the minutes from the January 28th, 2025 Financial Review Committee? I will abstain from this, but do we have,
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain. Okay, on to agenda item number 2, quarterly financial report ending March 31st, 2025. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, thank you. So we're 3/4 way through the fiscal year. General fund revenues totaled $34.9 million, or 71% of the amended budget. Expenditures excluding interfund transfers amounted to about $35 million, about 67% of the amended budget. Some notable revenue information is TOT revenue collected through the end of the quarter was $12.9 million, or 81% of the budget, of the TOT budget, representing an increase of $636,000 from the previous fiscal year. Staff is estimating fiscal year to end about $16.5 million, which is about $600,000 more than the amended fiscal year 25 budget, which is still down 2.3% from fiscal year 24, but that's primarily due to the Ritz closing some of their rooms down for renovations. But considering that, we're having a pretty strong revenue receipts for this fiscal year, year to date. Sales tax through March was $4.1 million. We anticipate that at year end will be closer to $6.9 million, which is about 3% above the $6.7 million amended budget. Property tax through March was $7.8 million, and staff anticipates that actuals will match the amended budget of $11.95 million. So revenues are tracking, all other revenues are tracking slightly ahead of budget. So we'll probably we will end the fiscal year ahead of budget on revenue side. Notable expenditures, police services is at $1.2 million year over year, but that was anticipated because of the increase to the sheriff's contract. The fiscal year 25 contract totaled $15.4 million. We do anticipate at year end, we usually get a credit in the June bill because they do a reconciliation between overtime and vacancies. And so I think when the most recent report we had, we're running high on the overtime budget, but there's been a lot of vacancies. They've been backfilling with overtime, which is going to give us some savings at the end of the year. So that $15.4 million would be probably a little bit less by the time we get the final bill from the sheriff's department.
$500,000, is it?
I don't know about $500,000. I think the last report we were at 400 and a little, but we still have 3 months to go. So
Is our highest quarter for revenue the fourth quarter?
no,
Generally?
no.
Because if I'm looking and I annualize activity for the end of the third quarter, 34.9 million annualized, that would give us 46.5 million. But you said we're over. We're looking to be projected over.
Yeah, you got property tax comes in
April. We get a big chunk of the second half of property tax in April. TOT, the heavy months are summer, so last July, August, September,
But we'll get June also, so.
and June will be good.
Okay.
Yeah. And sales tax runs a little behind because it runs 2 months behind because the state needs to catch up. So we get advances and then we get a true up. So like May we'll get the true up for first quarter 25, and then we'll get the true up for the last quarter of the fiscal year in August. So sales tax looks a little lower, it's because it's 2 months behind.
It's our last entry.
Yeah, it's our very last entry.
Are we anticipating any kind of effect of sales tax on businesses that are possibly gonna shut down for the redevelopment?
So we actually had a conversation today. We had a meeting with our sales tax consultant, and we did have actually that
One
conversation.
business when like just zero it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be one business that we're gonna.
That we're
probably-
worried about.
Oh,
Yeah,
only
we're
one.
worried
That,
about
that's
Okay.
a little bit more significant.
Yeah.
that
Okay.
We'll feel a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as we go, when we go through the budget presentation, we'll show that like sales tax we're anticipating to be flat next year. But we'll get into more detail. It's a little bit hard to tell with what's going on in the economy and what the new administration's doing with
I was gonna
tariffs,
ask about
what's gonna
tariffs,
happen.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell what's gonna happen over probably the next 6 months.
The online sales have been a lot bigger, been growing for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Like significant. Countywide, it's the largest contributor now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, on expenditure side, also, data technologies up about 275,000 over fiscal year '24, but that's primarily due to contract services for our permit software or permitting upgrades over in community development and public works to bring everything online, to allow online submittals. And then just some CPI contract increases for like parks, tree, landscapes, and maintenance. And then that ends my report, and I can answer any other additional questions.
Quick question, since we're spending more on the community development permitting software and whatnot, do we conceptually add that back into our permit fees somehow?
So what we spent is just, they're more like one-time costs to do the upgrades to the system. Going forward, the cost should just be the regular subscription and licensing fees for the software. But we do need to do a fee study. And we're due for one. We're probably looking to do that next fiscal year. And we are gonna look possibly at integrating some IT fees, because we are spending so much on IT and going to web services, and that's increased our overall data technology costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're pushing hard on development and building for services, and if those increase our costs, it's certainly acceptable that we push those on, right?
Right, because it's a cost of doing business, so.
It's pretty standard
Yeah.
also.
Got it,
Yes, I've seen other cities do it as well.
got
They're
it.
starting to incorporate it more.
Any other questions?
Nothing for me.
Okay.
Very good.
Just the recommendation is to
Yeah.
forward to city council.
Yeah, I'll move staff's recommended action.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right, on to the big one. Draft long-term financial plan and budget.
I'm just gonna stay here.
I was gonna say, do you want me to work the slides for you?
I can just.
Okay,
I'm
whatever
good.
you want.
Yeah. So what we have before you today is proposed operating budget and capital equipment for the next 2 fiscal years, fiscal year '26 and '27. The goals of putting together the budget was obviously to adhere to the city's financial policies, incorporate initiatives, projects from the strategic plan, funding our core services, prioritize investment in maintaining existing assets, replenishing reserves and designated funds, and also have a structurally balanced long-term financial plan. So all these numbers were incorporated into the long-term financial plan as well. So general fund revenues and expenditure budgets for fiscal year '26 and '27, we're looking at revenues about $51.4 million for fiscal year '26, expenditures before transfers out $47.2 million. After transfers out, we're looking at a slight surplus of just over $200,000. For fiscal year '27, again, a slight surplus of just over $100,000. So, The budget includes all our reserves being fully funded, so our economic stability reserve, our extreme event reserve are funded per policy. Our unassigned fund balance is actually funded slightly above the 7% requirement, so right now our policy is we keep the unassigned fund balance in the general fund 4 to 7% of the revenue budget. So as you can see, we're a little bit ahead in both 25, we're looking at about 1.9 million, and that's the budgeted numbers. Proposed ending for fiscal year 26, we're about 1.2 million over what the required unassigned fund balance. In fiscal year 27, we're almost $1 million over the required unassigned fund balance. So revenues for fiscal year 26 is 51.4 million, and for fiscal year 27 is 52.7 million. As you can see here, most of our revenues are coming from taxes in our franchise category. Obviously, that's TOT, property tax, is the in the property tax are the large amounts in that category. So TOT for fiscal year 26, we're looking at 17.4 million, and for fiscal year 27, 17.7 million. We are expecting, so as I mentioned, we're looking at an estimated ending TOT receipts for fiscal year 25 at 16.5 million. So the 17.4 million is 5.2% over that amount. And we're assuming Ritz will be back to full operations, but also the Marina Inn will be closed sometime in the first half of the fiscal year. Property tax for fiscal year 26 is 12.4 million, and fiscal year 27, 12.9 million. This is 3.3% increase for fiscal year 26 over the fiscal year 25 amended budget. The city's taxable assessed value grew 5.6% January 2024, which is used for the tax receipts, property tax receipts for fiscal year 25. We're expecting the tax assessed value to increase 4.4% effective January 2025, which will affect the 26 receipts. In lieu property tax is tied to growth in gross assessed property values, so that's also going up 4.4% in fiscal year 26. Sales taxes we talked about earlier. For fiscal year 26, we're estimating 7 million, and that's actually just under 7 million. Fiscal year 27, 7.2 million. Relatively flat for fiscal year 26. We have 1.1% there, with estimated actuals at 6.1 for fiscal year 25. But we do anticipate resuming to normal growth in fiscal year 27, about 3.5%. Charges for services and licenses and permits. So for fiscal year 26, for charges for services is 1.9 million, and licenses and permits 2 million. We usually estimate these pretty conservatively, just because it's really tied to activity. So for fiscal year 26, it's a 10.1% decrease in charges for services and 4.1% decrease in licenses and permits. We always, like I said, conservative estimates based on building activity, and also what's not included is third-party reimbursables, which we don't recognize until we earn them. And then moving on to expenditures for fiscal year 26, we're looking at about 47.2 million, and then another 4 million transfers out for a total of 51.1 million for fiscal year 26. For fiscal year 27, 48.7, with 3.9 million transfers out to the funds, for a total of 52.6 million in expenditures. And most of our expenditures are materials and services, which include contract costs like the sheriff's contract and all our other contract services like for landscapes and parks and all that. So, followed by personnel costs of 24.2%. And police services budget is 16.6 million for fiscal year 26. No change in service level. Still 39 positions assigned to the city of Dana Point. The fiscal year 26 contract with Orange County Sheriff's Department is 16 million, which is a 4% increase from from the fiscal year 25 contract. Fiscal year 26 is the final year of the current labor agreements, so they'll probably be going into labor negotiations for the end of this year. Not sure, this last contract, there were some pretty, I think over 3 years, it was 17% increase. Not sure if they're gonna go that high. Camden County's having a lot of financial issues with the fires, the airport fire that happened and lawsuits related to that, so
Also federal and state funding.
loss of federal and state funding, so not sure. We don't see those types of increases in the next labor negotiations for them. But we still, in the long-term financial plan, we still plug in about 4%, because historically, that's what those increases has been. Personnel costs, we're still at 68 full-time positions. For fiscal year 26, it's 12.4 million for all personnel costs. This is an 8.5% decrease from fiscal year 25, but that's primarily due to us making that one-time payment to CalPERS of the 1.85 million. If we take that out, it's about a 6% increase in personnel costs for fiscal year 26. We primarily due to increase in part-time hours and wages. As you know, minimum wage is going up every year per state law. Pension costs, health benefit allowance increases for our MOU with our employees, and the annual budgeted merit pool for our MOU. Moving on to CIP. So the 2-year CIP for fiscal year 26 and 27, they're pretty close, 6.4 million in 26 and 7.4 million and 7.5 million in 27. Some notable, so we're continuing to fund our residential and arterial roadway program, and then also the Della Vista Park modification project. In fiscal year 27, the 1.2 million is for construction. Stonehill Drive undergrounding design in fiscal year 26, that's in addition to the 400,000 that we have budgeted in fiscal year 25. In the long term, we do have money in for actual construction for that, but Matt is, our public works director, is still working on finalizing those numbers.
Can I ask a question just from
Yeah.
a presentation perspective? I have some questions on previous slides, but just on this one, the way it's presented. How come on some of your slides, you show the prior year just for reference, and some slides you don't?
So for CIP, I could add that, which would probably tell the story a little bit, since we do add money for some of the projects, like the Doheny Village connectivity improvement construction.
Mm-hmm.
We have like a little over 3 million in this fiscal year, so this 750,000 is in addition to that. So we could present this a little differently to kind of show a more complete picture of some of these
I
larger
did it on
projects.
some of them, I have to go back and look, but there were some that showed prior year, which was helpful.
Okay.
Just for the scale of the project.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
especially for CIP, because these are multi-year projects.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You got it in,
It's in the quarterly report.
I
It's also
thought I
in the
saw
book.
it somewhere.
Yeah, it's in the book.
Okay.
It goes back to 23 actually, so
Oh.
there's some recurring projects, like the top one, citywide storm drain, we plug in 200,000 a year just in case something happens, and that's got money to work with. So
Yeah.
general safety repairs, traffic related, and then you'll see neat stuff like the plaza, storm drain. It's a residential, you'll see that every year, the slurry and the overlay. And then Stonehill and Douglas where you use, but all of the projects going back to 23 actuals are included in the budget.
Yeah, and then the two top ones, like Mike said, those are, we put in
Page
every year.
126.
But those don't roll over every year.
Right.
And some of the other ones,
25.
because the projects aren't
Per year.
fiscal year, we do roll them over until they're completed.
We're moving ahead with the Stonehill Drive, even
Yeah.
though, do we expect to incur additional costs from our
Yes.
initial, but we can still?
Oh, no, it wasn't, Matt's retooled it, because SDG&E initial estimates was 4 million, and then they came back a year later and said it's 14 million.
Yeah, that's,
And then they came back and said it's 12.
Got our best guys on it.
Well, SDG&E apparently wants to get out of the business of doing these undergroundings.
And just
So
third party at all?
that's if they manage the project, so cities are now stepping in and saying, okay, let us bid it out, you approve the plans, we'll do the contract, we'll do the construction work, and the costs come down by 60%. So they just obviously wanted to get out of having to manage the project.
Right.
But it's still like close enough to our original estimate that we should still do it.
Yeah. We still have the Rule 28 money worked on it.
I was just looking for
And
the
does
Rule
the
28.
does the program kind of coincide? I know there's a bunch of the city fiber stuff going on all around the city. I wouldn't think you'd scurry until,
We've been coordinating.
Coordinating.
And
Mhm.
city side's been really good about getting in front of our projects and not trailing our projects. And it's
okay, cool.
Any other questions?
Come back to yours.
So, this is the CIP fund balance, and I wanted to point this out because we did change the policy last fall. We eliminated the community investment account and just rolled everything into unassigned fund balance, but the policy now requires us to keep 5% of the general fund revenue budget in unassigned fund balance. So these bottom numbers are what's required per policy, and then this number right here is where we're projecting the ending unassigned fund balance in CIP. A lot of that is leftover CIA money that we've programmed into other projects in the long-term financial plan, including undergrounding, the Stonehill Drive undergrounding project. So it's slowly getting eaten up with projects, but we're still obviously well above policy. And then moving on to our facilities improvement fund, Fund 12. We have a 2-year investment of $2.7 million, so this is for city facilities like community center, city hall, parks, projects. The facilities department and our parks department have done a really good job of trying to forecast even farther than the next 2 fiscal years, which hasn't looked, it's kind of new what we're doing, but so some of the things in here that you'll see, especially in the parks, they're programming in dollars in the long-term financial plan to make sure that things are being maintained as opposed to being reactionary and fixing things that were, because when this fund was initially started, it was to address a lot of deferred maintenance on our facilities. Staff is really caught up on that, so now we're trying to plan to address things before they become deferred maintenance or.
It's been a 6-year effort now.
Yeah.
Rolling into being reactionary, not planning well.
Being more proactive.
Almost got up to it. It's nice.
That's good.
Did we do an analysis regarding solar prior to, coinciding with this asphalt shingle roof replacement, or no?
We haven't looked at solar, yes.
Was it just not?
Footprint isn't big enough.
What's that?
The footprint wasn't big enough
For all the
for the
panels?
section that they were having to replace.
Oh, that's not the whole building.
No, we had flat roofed it.
This fiscal year or last fiscal, we did the flat roof part of the city hall. Now he's doing the shingle part of
Which
city
is
hall.
Oh,
much.
okay.
Yeah. So that's the big, spend in City Hall in fiscal year 26 is to do the roof replacement for the shingles, and then in 27 to do a fire alarm upgrade at City Hall. Community Center and also in City Hall, they're planning out every year doing, a few of the HVAC units every year. So they're not just dying on us.
He's working on scheduling them out so that
Yeah,
we don't have them all aging out at one time,
right.
which is what we ran into, so, because we
Yeah.
weren't doing
Yeah, so-
managed maintenance projects.
Yeah.
Do we have maintenance on those, or do we just wait till they crap until something
No,
happens?
there's regular maintenance on them, like cleaning
Yeah.
filters and that kind of stuff. There is now.
Yeah.
Do you wanna deep dive into that?
No, it's interesting.
Like I said, we started this facilities assessment effort back in, I think it was like 2018, 19. And we went through a couple of directors, but we found good ones.
Yeah, the team is doing a really good job of maintaining or getting things scheduled and prepared. so the court surface improvements, the dog fun zone improvements, and playground structure replacements, the staff would put in the budget every year through the long-term financial plan money to do these efforts. So in fiscal year, so for the next 2 fiscal years, for court improvements for fiscal year 27, they're looking at Thunderbird Park, Del Obispo, and Dana Crest. In fiscal year 27, Creekside, Lanham Bay, and Del Obispo. Playground structure replacements for fiscal year 26, CB Park, and fiscal year 27, Pines Park. And dog fun zone, for fiscal year 26, Heritage Park, and 27, Creekside Park. And they've also built in, like I said, every year in the long-term financial plan to do additional replacements, just so it's on a schedule instead of just waiting for things needing to be replaced because they're no longer safe. And then another big item, in fiscal year 26 is updating the ball field lights at Del Obispo Park with LED. And, working on the Heritage Park staircase railing. And then in fiscal year 27, $250,000 for Thunderbird Park ball field improvements. So these numbers are larger than they have been in the past. After fiscal year 23, we transferred about $1.5 million from excess fund balance into the facilities improvement fund. Over the long-term financial plan, we're gonna need to make any larger investments in Fund 12, just to make sure that we're keeping up with what we need to do in our facilities. And long-term financial plans. So these numbers have been built into the long-term financial plan, and with reasonable CPI increases over the years, the long-term financial plan is structurally balanced. It covers fiscal year 26 through 31, so 6 years. Policy requires at least 5 years. And general fund revenues are projected to keep pace and go slightly more than expenditures. We do, in the long-term financial plan, it does assume the Harbor Hotel's opening late fiscal year 29. So we kind of pushed it as far, kind of try to be reasonable with it. And also, as I mentioned before, the sheriff's contract is our largest building expense, about 4%. And that ends the staff report, and if you have any other slides you want to put back on.
You just totally brought it up, this isn't something that necessarily it's a presentation, I just look at the sheriff contract at 4%, and just curious about the long-term sustainability of that, when you're not gonna always have new harbor hotels coming in. At some point, we're gonna probably be dealing with constricted revenues, at least static revenues, right? And we're in a position where we're unwitting to it because we have such a positive balance in all of our accounts, larger than the requisite amount. And I just wonder, is there anything we can do to sharpen our teeth in our negotiations with them? Are we beholden to whatever they stipulate?
Whatever the board of supervisors, even the sheriff.
And that's what I'm referencing.
Yeah.
And I guess,
We could reduce our scope of work requested by them.
I mean, it's something that we're not gonna solve today, just when I see that, and you've been here 20 years, Mike? Is that about roughly what you see, looking back? Pretty much count on
100%.
larger than CPI, greater, right?
No, there's a chart in the long-term financial plan. Let me find the page.
Yeah, you kind of like, you can see the police services go whoop, and the rest of kind of stay like the rest of it.
If you look at page 190, you'll see what the annual increase is.
And are the board of supervisors punitive to us for having a better financial position?
No.
What do the broke cities do?
Same thing.
They just
Or-
take it
or less
and
deputies.
cut something else.
Less
Yeah.
deputies,
Taxes.
there's a couple cities, Laguna Woods, Laguna Hills, that have actually combined, some of their deputy service. So it was Aliso Viejo and Laguna Woods. Yeah.
You also see cities run to raise their TOT rate
Yeah.
based on public safety costs.
We, couple things, we've got 4 positions that I think Mission Viejo may have finally got a similar model with the community services unit. We've got 3 deputies and a sergeant that are not responding to 911 calls. They're doing other crime prevention and investigation type work that is unique. It had been, but I heard some story about Mission Viejo may have added some positions. Generally though, when you're looking at the 4%, one of the things that's gonna help us out, and it's starting to now, is back in 13-14, the Public Employee Pension Reform Act that the state passed, lowered the pensions for both public safety and non-public safety. And we're still, the python swallowing the pig from the old pension programs. Not only from the actual cost to fund, but the unfunded liabilities they created. And we've got, we're 10 years into that, 11 years. I think we got about another 5 to 10 or 12 years before we start seeing the workforce being all the lower pensions. And
Is that
that's-
contemplated into the law? Will that be something that is favorable in the law?
No, it'll be favorable, but it's not in our planning right now, but it is, we're
That's
already
good news.
starting to see it. No, that was a definite, had to have, because the pensions that the state set up back in like 95, 96, that agency started negotiating that were favorable to labor, were unsustainable.
What about the positions that are sort of adjacent to the actual sworn officers that are like, the ones that aren't really doing the heavy lifting, they're not sworn officers? Is that something that are employed directly by the city, or that's still contracted through this?
Still contracted.
So at some point, would we
Yeah, we've
have
got
the,
a crime prevention specialist and
Community service officer.
community service officer.
does the city have the druthers to say something like, hey, we're good on the sworn personnel, but we're gonna sort of bifurcate that and hire this on our own to save on all the fringe?
No,
It's
I
kind
think
of
the
take it or leave it?
resources from the sheriff's
Yeah.
department and the training
Standard
they get.
staffing.
Yeah.
Well, sure be curious if there's other cities that
We
are sitting in
even-
the same room doing the same thing that
We
would
were
wanna-
being asked years ago also for an additional administrative deputy, I think it was, no, not deputy. Anyway, it was one of those positions that they needed, given all the state mandates for paperwork and stuff, and we ended up, we have a part-time former sheriff's deputy that works down in the sheriff's department.
Does that.
And she's a lot cheaper than what we would have to pay through the
And
contract
she's a
rates.
city employee.
Yeah.
But we're saving money with our parking ticket guy, right?
Absolutely,
Mhm.
but we did not cut the CSO on that.
Oh.
And then in reference, what was it?
It's helping pay for it.
You showed, I think it was the charge services, a decrease, substantial decrease, I think, is, you started
Charges
trying to
and
be conservative?
licenses, yeah.
Oh, charges or services,
Yeah,
yes.
predicting construction activity and stuff is
Is there any, like, if you look year over year for the last trailing 5 years, is there any sort of consistency? Is it all over the map?
it's been fairly consistent high. We keep waiting for the downturn. We're starting to see it now. I'm looking at like planning revenue. The last year, I wanna say, is down,
It's
which
starting
means
to
the
flatten out.
building revenue that falls with permits is gonna trail as well. We got it crashed back in 08, 09 with the Great Recession, and it was down for several years. And then we saw it climb, and it's like it went through the roof, and I'm like, at some point, this bubble ends, and I don't wanna be on the wrong side of
Totally
that
get it.
projection, and they will swing.
Yeah.
At some point, when will supplies be a problem with the fires from Malibu and the
No.
Eaton fire? We haven't seen any yet, people not building because of it. Have you guys seen any supply issues yet?
I'm not big enough to see it.
Yeah,
He
okay.
would.
More on
You
the
see
tariff,
them?
more on the tariff side than.
More on the
it is
tariffs than
than
the fires?
fire.
Got it.
We also see people from Malibu and Palisades buying homes in Dana Point now, so.
Well, okay.
And they're gonna be refurbishing homes. and
That's true.
That may not be an issue. Resorts did well when the fires hit. Our 5-star resorts did well, so.
I've always wondered with regard to charges for services, what portion of like development and building is reimbursed through a specific projects, 50%, 60, 20? Like, if you took her whole budget relative to what we charge, do we know? That might just be a random question.
So
Do we?
the question is, of the charges for services budget.
Oh, I'm sorry, her total budget.
He's talking about community development.
Yeah,
Oh,
like take
community
Brenda.
development budget.
Brenda, she clearly has some work that hits our general fund that is not reimbursed, cause she just has to manage zoning. But then she's also doing work on specific projects, which she's charging for. Just curious, is that
It's
like,
fee schedule.
is it like 50% of?
No, it's designed to be full cost recovery. It's aged now.
So
we
all
need
the
to update
fees
it.
we collect goes towards actual, should be full cost for the expenses we have,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
How much of her workload is for fee schedule work versus just, not her specifically, but you know what I
The
mean?
department, probably a significant portion, since what they do is building
Process.
inspection, processing permits, doing plan check, either in-house or
Yeah.
farming them out. A large portion of the community development, I would believe, would be,
Or they, I didn't know if
And
you were.
code enforcement may not be good,
code's probably the only one.
yeah.
It's not a huge deal, just.
But it all gets thrown into the fee studies. Any portion that might be attributable to an individual type of permit, there's estimates on the time and material spent on it. Using actual costs,
Yeah.
and then we can escalate. We haven't done it in 3 years, but you can escalate by CPI, but you need to do a fee study periodically. So the city hadn't done one until 2017-18. And then even then, we phased in the increases over 3 years. And then they've been steady now with COVID hitting and everything else, we sat on it, but it's on C's to-do list to update the fee study. So,
Any other questions? So this is gonna be presented to city council May 6th, which is Tuesday.
Is this out of our new system, didn't that we?
Yes, well, we did the budget in the system last time, last year too, that was the first year we did it.
Did you print it off in this format? Okay.
Remember, I was super excited about it.
I haven't touched my spreadsheet.
Well, this looks good. Does it,
And then I sent a leak in the,
you can just print it all off?
You guys got
on-
the council got a link to this last week, is
yeah,
that right?
and there's a web version that's,
I don't think I had this presentation, but I have it.
No, the
What's the name of
presentation
this?
is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Clearghost, the software company. And so this is the web version, it's the same as the book, but
It was.
Oh,
we,
well, yeah, it's important that you do.
so you can just navigate, I need a web version so you can see the
That's
line
clear.
stuff.
Really? And so you can send the specific department budgets to them?
Mhm.
They just type it in?
You hit print and put your email address and then pick
And
the
then she-
sections you want to print. Or
But
you
as
can
far
print
as
whole
the
thing.
data entry and everything, yeah, they get to enter it, and then it goes to her staff for review and changes, and then discussions, and then she finalizes the numbers.
Are they able to like copy last year's and then just update, or do they have to
It's loaded
rebuild
down.
every?
Yeah, so there's another section in ClearGov that's called operating budget, and you go in and they can go back and see actuals for, I think we've loaded at least the last, so probably fiscal year 20 you can go back to, so they can see actuals and then they can see budgeted numbers, so when they're putting their, departments are putting their budgets together, they have that history.
Does it benchmark against other cities and stuff like that, or?
No, not other cities. Not every city uses this platform.
Well, one benchmark I always look at is what percentage of your budget is consumed by personnel costs?
Hmm.
And we're under 25%, which has always been a goal of mine, because you see other cities 70-80%.
Now, that's curious though, because can some cities call personnel costs law enforcement, then you, if they
Yes.
have that can be considered
Yes.
60-70%, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, but they won't call a contract, police services personnel, that'll be under contracts and services, so.
What is financial summaries, just your like
Those are just all
summarize?
our fund balances,
And you can just print that, great.
yeah.
So you're not really recreating the wheel for this too much.
Not like I.
Well, you gotta have inputs, right?
Yeah,
Well,
but
yeah, I
one
have to
time.
input and make sure everything balances out, and I do have a spreadsheet, I'm not sure.
You
do?
I do. That's my double check, so. But yeah, then just print it out.
Just double check, but you pretty much do your whole management here.
Between this and our financial system.
Does it flag, like on budget to actuals or on reprojections or recasting, does it flag like very negative variances or unfavorable variances? Good? You said only the good one?
No, I said and big
Oh,
variances.
It will show variances in the spreadsheet, so if you're putting in a number, it'll say how much off it was, or increase or decrease from the previous amended budget.
How do you get the actuals from the accounting system back here? Do you have to like integrate, like,
You basically download it and then you send it to ClearGov and they upload it.
oh, okay. And same with when this is approved, you download it and then put it in the accounting system, or do you, okay.
Yeah.
We were doing that from spreadsheets in the old days.
Yes, yeah.
Crazy.
We just create a flat file and upload it.
This is a lot less transposition errors probably, huh?
There's none, yeah. I don't find those.
Is it tough to keep them the same? Like, risk management, you have to make sure that's risk management in the accounting system.
It's just,
It is,
it's groupings,
They
it's
use-
not by
Just
count.
map
They
it.
use the same accounting structure.
Same
Yeah.
number,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
They entered our accounting structure into their system.
That's cool.
But Matt does not do that for his CIP projects, right? He would probably just use his own,
No, it's entered in here.
he would, really?
There is a
The capital.
capital projects module in here. He still doesn't.
Got it.
Does he?
He does. I tried to get them to use this last time, but the way they built their CIP, it was the timing wasn't good, so. We'll work on it though.
Still have a separate accounting system.
Piece of wood. That's the ordering system. Does anybody else have any questions? Do we, I mean, we probably need to read it in detail before it goes.
Right, so we'll do the budget
Yes.
workshop on May sixth, and then we'll have a month to sit on it before budget adoption on June sixth. So, there's still time.
So there's no motion required on them?
You know, so just discussion.
Isn't it to just, or we don't need to approve it to send it? Doesn't mention it here. Okay. Does anybody else, Ms. Riggs,
No, I had my questions answered. Thank you.
Mr. Pagano, Mayor Pagano,
Thank you, sir.
City Manager?
I just wanna give props to C, she did a lot of this solo, being short-staffed.
Go
So,
girl.
yeah.
Who left?
Go girl.
Cheryl?
Cheryl.
did?
Yeah.
She's the accounting manager now for San Clemente.
San Clemente.
Okay, so just not for if I say her, just say.
Oh, when did that- Oh, recently.
She left in like mid-March.
And she was at the last FRC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sit down and.
Well, good for her.
And an accountant, but that's okay.
And you're looking for somebody now?
We hired an accountant. He starts May 13th, and we've almost hired a new finance manager. We're getting close.
Got some good candidates.
We got some good candidates. We made an offer to one candidate, so we're just hoping she accepts.
Awesome.
Crossed.
Cool.
Okay, well, if, does anybody have any final comments? Staff reports?
None for me, sir.
Great report, thank you.
Yeah, all right, so this is our adjournment. The next regular meeting of the Financial Review Committee will be September 9th at 4 p.m. in the Public Works Conference Room located at 33282 Golden Lantern, Suite 212, Dana Point, California 92629.